So, we start this evening with our usual meditation. So I invite you all to close your eyes and sit comfortably and take a couple of deep breaths. And land in your space and also land in this group in this evening. And just take a couple of deep breaths again and let go of the whole day thus far, everything that you have been doing and thinking and in different places. Just let that go for now. And go inside yourself, in your inner world. And there, imagine that you are outside somewhere. It can be in nature, it can be in a city or a village, it can be in any place outside. And imagine that you are walking with a certain very important purpose, and you are walking against the wind. You're walking against the wind with your important purpose. It's almost dark. The sun is setting and night is approaching. And you keep on walking. And you feel the wind in your face, in your clothes. And you keep walking as the wind grows stronger and stronger until it reaches the force of a storm. You can hardly walk, and you need to bend forward to try to move in the wind. And you still want to walk your path forward because you know that you cannot turn back now. It's too important. And you really want to reach your goal. You feel challenged. You need all your strength. And you also start to feel lonely. You start to worry that you might not be able to do this on your own. That feeling. And then, suddenly, you notice in the almost dark evening, others are coming. Others are joining from both sides, from your left, from your right. And they seem to walk the same direction. More and more people turn up in the dusk, also with a storm in their face, bent over, trying to move forward, taking step by step, but now as a group. Someone starts singing a song, and more people join, singing. And you feel the difference of walking together with these people compared to walking in solitude, even those you do not know. Or maybe you recognize some faces here. Now someone on your right side takes your hand, and on your left side also, and it makes you relax. You feel as part of a river, a stream of people moving in the same direction. You realize that you do not have to do this on your own, that you cannot do this on your own, but that together you can do anything. And now you are so sure that you will reach the goal of this journey. You will reach the destination in this togetherness. And we rest in this awareness for a couple of minutes, just enjoying this feeling of possibility. And so gradually we come back and take a breath and open our eyes again and come back to the group. So thank you for this. And now it's time for us to meet Kata Nylén. And Kata Nylén is a climate psychologist, and she's an author and lecturer. And I don't know Kata personally, not yet at least, but I know her from this book that she wrote together with two other persons. It's called Climate Psychology, How We Create a Sustainable Change. I don't know if it's translated, Kata, but you can tell. So, yes.
Yes. Hello, everyone. It's only translated in Russian.
So
For some
far.
reason.
Mm.
But we're actually writing a book for a British publisher for the moment, for Routledge. And it's a little bit more academic, but it's because that Swedish one is very like, popular psychology. And the Routledge one will be a little bit more academic, but it will also be broader. So about resilience, a lot about resilience, collective resilience as well. So uh,
So,
hopefully that will be published 2026 sometime.
yeah, good. Congratulations to have that project launched with that publisher. That seems really good.
Yeah.
So first, Kata, what is climate psychology? Maybe we need to start there to just explain what is it compared
Yeah.
to other kinds of psychology.
Yeah, well, it's basically mostly like a scientific area of research where researchers from all over the world look into how people feel, react or act around climate change. And like the crises that belong to climate change as well. So it's everything from eco emotions, studies on eco emotions, like how do we feel around this all over the world, to like how can we create behavior, like large scale behavior change? Why aren't we acting more, even if we know how acute the problem is? Why are people behaving like nothing is happening when we're in the midst of the biggest human crisis ever, and so on. So like that's the sort of questions that we are interested in. And we work we work with workshops and lectures and talks, of course, for all sorts of people that want to, like, they can actually use this knowledge. So usually I say that, like, my knowledge is not, it doesn't like make any change when it's by itself. So it has to be implemented together with other knowledges. So, for example, if I work within wind industry, I need to know like what are the projects and how do you do the projects, and then like the behavior changes. What sort of behavior change do we need to see from the public
Mm.
opinion, from the politicians, from the company, and so on, and then we can start to structure around the behavior change. So I'm an organizational psychologist, so I work with that sort of broad scale behavior changes within all sectors, everything from activist groups to CEOs for big global companies. Um, and then we have two others. So we are five psychologists, and we have one that started the Mothers of Rebellion, and she's almost a full-time activist. Um, but she's with us as well, like working with also like speaking and those sort of things. But she's very much towards like working with activism. And then we have two others that works a lot with clinical psychology. So they have patients that are very anxious around the climate change, or feel lonely, feel hopelessness. So they work like one to one. And then it's me, the organizational psychologist,
Mm.
and Paula as well. She's always also sort of activist. She's mostly a grandmother for the moment, so she's discussing with us and writing with us, but she doesn't really like to work for the moment with climate psychology. She just wants to be a grandmother.
Okay,
Uh,
so thank
yeah,
you for letting us know, what you do. So that is really
yeah.
inspiring, and I know that we, when we prepared this, we found a lot of interesting issues, and I'm gonna take from them now, but
Mm.
maybe not in the order that we thought, because now I think when you describe this, it's like very important to talk about the difference, or maybe that is actually the first question. I mean, the difference from trying to avoid a threat, and
Mhm.
everything we need to do to try to avoid that, and then maybe try to find a new way of living inside that change, because it's now inevitable that there will be a great change, a great transformation in the collective on all levels.
Yeah.
So how can we let go of the old at the same time as we build the new?
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant question because it has been traditionally a very large focus on mitigation. So, like, we need to mitigate the crisis, we need to mitigate our emissions, we need to mitigate our impact on the environment, um, instead of discussing where are we going. So,
Mm.
and I guess, like, without visions, without having that purpose that we were striving for in the meditation, it's really difficult to move forward. Just going in that wind, as we did in the meditation, if we don't have anywhere to go towards, we actually would turn around and follow the wind the other way around. So it is a problem with too much focus on mitigation. So that's why I really like to use the word resilience, because basically resilience is, well, it comes from nature. So resilient nature places are places that both mitigate their risk for adversity, but also they recover from adversity and they prepare for adversity. So we need to like both mitigate and adapt at the same time. So build the new and find the visions at the same time as we also take our responsibility as human beings, have human citizens in this world, especially as people that are in the privileged part of the world that can spend time doing these sort of things in the evening
Mm.
instead of trying to survive or find warmth for the night.
So one thing with this the whole issue of climate and environmental issues is like many of the solutions are sort of connected to politics on the left side. And
Mm,
it's like it so often becomes a left-right political issue. And personally, I find that really scary because it's like it's not about that at all. It's not about politics, but it becomes so often a political issue. How
yeah.
how can we how can we go beyond that? Because it's really about on a much larger scale, and the
Mm,
threat is so much beyond the everyday politicians'
yeah. They're
agenda, sort
agenda,
of.
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
it's another worldview, really.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think about this a lot, and it's in some way, it depends what we mean with politics. In some way, everything we do is politics. Like all the choices we do every morning is politics. If we decide not to be active citizens and just continue as usual, then that's a sort of action that we decide to do. If we decide to focus on
Mm.
consumer behaviors, that's also a sort of action. So traditionally, when I've, for example, been working with public television, they've been very much like, we can't be political, so you can only talk about consumer behaviors because that's not political. Whilst I think that's just as political, because that's a statement to think like what we can do is to consume ourselves out of this crisis instead of go together and collectively build something new and also demand from our local politicians or our
Mm.
local communities the sort of change we want, the sort of culture we want to build. And it like all those sort of collective actions can also be framed as political because they strive towards structure change. So we need new structures, we need new social structures, new juristical structures, new economical structures that sort of makes it possible to live in a sustainable way, and like in a healthy, sustainable way. But when we talk about like party politics, it's all, why has it been this left wing issue? I think it is because like everyone I meet, they care about, even if they, no matter what political agenda they have, what party they belong to or vote for, they want the world to be sustainable. They want the world to be there for their kids in the future. They like nature. I think it's only in studies they over the whole world, it's only 0.2% that don't want effective climate or saving politics in some sort of way. Um, but it has been So other behaviors that's been going on at the same time as we have been focused very much on consumer behavior instead of strengthening the collective action and building communities. There has been other forces that has been working very actively uh, towards climate obstruction because um, they earn lots of money on this, and it's a lot to gain if we don't take action towards a more sustainable future. If you have oil industry or if you're in the food industry or forest industry, there's a lot of lobbyism basically, and they focus on the right side of the politics because that's where it can go closer to their way of looking at economy. And that's why, like, the question is sort of left to the left side, but also it's a question about how shall we solve it economically, because
Mm.
it is climate issues are also an economic issue. So this is a way that we have changed, like it's a difference between the Swedish book that came out 2018 and our book that is coming out now, that we've said to ourselves that we have to dare to also be political, or we have to dare to at least have opinions. Because the first book we wrote, like, we're only psychologists, we're only going to write about the knowledge about psychology, and we're going to leave everything else to like journalists or other sciences. But as climate change and all the belonging crises are so intertwined, it's like super complex, super wicked problem. We can't really only be a psychologist. We have to um, at least have opinions or analysis of what's happening in the other fields as well. Of course, together with those people that can tell us and help us understand, but we can't do the silo thing anymore, at least.
Mm. So, I mean, you are now adapting to the fact that the crisis has become worse. It's more evident, and
Yeah.
I mean, the reports are very, very alarming.
Mm.
And I wonder what you think about the collective as a whole. How do people cope with the fear that comes from, the worry that we have, that we maybe cannot allow ourselves to feel? Maybe we don't have the tools to process it or anyone to talk to. I mean, it's very different how people handle it. What are your thoughts about, I mean, the general effect on people from this situation when psychology wise?
Yeah, so we have studies saying that it's about 60 to 90%, depending on age, gender, and where you live, that are very worried about the environmental issue. So we know that it's something that is very worried. And I think you can guess which ones are the 60% and which ones are the 90%. So we have like the young people in countries that are already affected of climate change. They are amongst the 90%. And then we have men in the Nordics, for example, on the 60%. But still, 60% is quite high. It's
Mm.
the thing that worries us the most. So we um, so it does affect us when we think about it. But then uh, I don't know if you know about, I know you're all therapists, but if you know about cognitive dissonance. So basically, you value something really high, which people seem to do as they worry about the environment, but you can't like live close to your values. So it's this dissonance between your behavior and your values. And the reason why we can't live close to our values is many, but we have psychological reasons. For example, habituation, loss aversion, sunk cost fallacy. I can tell you a little bit more about that later, but like different sort of cognitive biases. But mostly social norms. How do other people around us act? What does marketing tell us to do? And what can we afford to do? And so on. So it's really difficult for us to live close to our values. And then we feel this dissonance between our values and behaviors. And of course, one way is to uh, get rid of this dissonance because it's awful to feel this dissonance. I'm sure you've felt it uh, at many times when it comes to the environment. I do it daily, but also just in things of like parenting, when you feel like you're supposed to be such a
Mm.
parent and then you don't manage to do that, and instead of like you really trying to do something about it, but when it comes to difficult issues like valuing the environment in a world where the politics doesn't help you or the laws doesn't help you to live uh, close to your values, then we like push this thing that is very valuable away from us. So the dissonance doesn't feel as acute for us. And I think like that's the behavior or the sort of process that we see the most, that people find different ways to push it away from themselves. So it can be like saying that it doesn't matter because think about China, what's going to happen when Africa want to live like we live, and it it won't affect me because I will be dead when this happen, or I well at least I don't have kids, so I don't feel responsibility. I can live however I want because I don't bring up any other. So all sorts of explanations that people have, and of course the most common is that, oh, I don't want to think about it. Like I have so much other stuff to focus on right now.
Mm.
So I think that the conversations and the just meeting people, talking about this, feeling about this is very, very, very important to make people see their dissonance and take the steps towards living close to their values instead of pushing it away. There are things like sorrow cafes or death cafes. I haven't been to them. I've heard about them. I think they're quite big in UK. Um, there are a few in Sweden as well, where you basically just grieve the loss
Mm.
um, of species, the loss of places, the loss of privileges that people in other parts of the world have lost, and all
Mm.
that together, and like realize what's going on. And it's also like a group um, of people that identify themselves as what's it called? So uh, collapsologist, I
Mm.
think, collapsologists. We talked a little bit about this earlier as well on the phone, that like uh, that sort of network, I think, is about it's like a craving to try to make people
Yeah.
feel something because
Exactly. I think
it's good
everything
to
you
feel
talk
something
about,
about
yeah,
this.
and
Yeah,
what I mean, you say two really important things. It's we need to feel it and we
yeah,
need to be together. So
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
when you talk about structures, we need to find another structure. We need to
Mm,
change the norms because the
mm.
norms are, and my neighbors do that. And that seems it's so important to come together
Yeah,
in
yeah,
and create. I mean, and I think of like small. It doesn't have to be so big. It has just have to happen everywhere, like in
exactly. Yes.
groups
Yeah.
and all the rest of it.
Exactly. So it doesn't have to be those like joining the big movements or building a like big organization or things like that. And so everyone can't do everything, but everyone can organize themselves in a way that fits them, I think. So it it's easy to think that organizing themselves is actually being the one standing on the front speaking, or leading a group of people in a demonstration, or like having late night meetings discussing things, but maybe just being there as a person in a meeting or listening or I don't know, making some coffee for a meeting. All sorts of behaviors are important when we organize as long as they are collective. So um, I think that sometimes it's a misunderstanding that climate emotions or eco emotions, like it's really common with climate anxiety, fear, but also anger, disappointment, sorrow, those sort of feelings that they are bad. They're something we should get rid of. Like sometimes I get like trolls or people writing to me, what are you doing? You're giving kids fear about this. But that's like a nice present to give. And so we want people to have these emotions because emotions are very collective in its ground. Like that's why we have them, because we're these collective animals. And they give us just information and motivation. So for example, if we feel fear, it gives us information that something is threatening us and motivation to go together with other people and try to do something about that threat.
Mm. Yeah.
And if we feel anger, it's the pureness of anger is information about that we have something is unjust and that we
Exactly.
a motivation that we have to go together and do something, make it more just.
Mm.
Yeah, and so on and so on.
Yeah, so
Grief.
I mean, you talk about trusting our
Mhm.
emotions and sharing them, and that
Yeah,
that is a really important part in change,
yeah,
in I mean, changing a society. And I think that's something really important that many of us, I mean, in general, feel that something's got to change. It can't go on like this, and we
yeah,
don't see that if I do something, I am part of the change. If I go together with two other people, we have a group and we are doing our own cheese or whatever,
yes,
it can be very simple things,
yeah,
as you say. And
hmm,
then while we are also talking about or sharing how we feel, I think it's super
yeah,
important. And I think, the word collapse is
mm,
so threatening.
yes,
But I've been thinking about it because, I mean, when we talk about collapse, it's like something is really falling apart.
hmm,
But it's also necessary for something else to be able to come forward.
yeah, definitely, yeah,
So how can we change our feelings around collapse? How can we dare to open our eyes? I mean, we really need to do that.
yeah. I think that's a really important question because we have this norm in our society, at least in this part of the world, where like negative emotions or uncomfortable emotions is something that we don't want. So it's like striving towards happiness is a goal in itself. When maybe like happiness is not the feeling that is going to change our society. So we do like two mistakes here. One is that we don't allow people to feel those emotions that will actually inform them and motivate them to take action and take collective action, talk with each other. But secondly, we miss like one of the main human skills, that is that we can feel two totally different emotions at the same time. So we're totally capable of realizing the fact about collapse, that different structures are collapsing, at the same time as we feel that that's also like a possibility to grow something new out of, like for example, those trees called asp in Swedish. It's I don't know the word for, I'm really bad at biology in English. um, but anyway, it's a sort of tree that has they grow together, all these trees, and they have this massive root system. So every time, for example, there's a fire when we have those trees, they grow up really quickly because they have this network of roots underneath the ground. So they support each other to always grow up. And so if we allow ourselves to actually realize that a lot of things are collapsing, and not be afraid of that, be like, or maybe like, yes, you can be afraid, but it also motivates you to feel sort of engagement because I mean, there's so
Mm.
many positive emotions in this that is like belonging with a group that builds something new. If we look at like the big study on happiness from Harvard, uh, we could see like top 10 of things that makes us happy is things that we can actually get through working together with changing the new world or building this new world. For example, having time with our close ones, being out in nature, working together towards a big purpose and things like that. So those sort of emotions are really, really like we can have them at the same time as we realize this collapse.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think we should use another word?
No, I think it's. I start to really like the word collapse. Actually,
Mm.
I find it somewhat thrilling and beautiful. But I remember the when I started to hear it, it was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
don't say
yeah,
that. Why do you say that? But now I say, okay, it's coming. So there's a freedom in there also. And a lot of what you say now is so fantastic because it's so different from the norms that we have about individuality.
yeah.
Because we have been taught, you can be successful and you can, if you
Mm.
have 1 million, you can get 10 more. And
Yeah,
it's very individualistic.
yeah,
And now it's like the whole solution seems to be in coming together as a collective and that everyone is important as a
yeah.
part of that, but not so much as a, yeah, I have the solution, you know?
No, exactly, because that's also like an individualistic way to think.
Exactly.
I can only be organizing myself if I have a solution. I can only organize myself if I have a loud voice, if I'm like comfortable with myself, or if I'm an extrovert, or things like that. But it's if you think about yourself instead as a part of a collective, it's much more welcoming because you just need to be there. Basically, you just need your body.
Exactly.
And yeah, I was thinking about that with like the word collapse, that it's triggering for a lot of people, and like the doomsdayism as well, that it doesn't have to actually mean doomsday. It doesn't have to mean like total collapse. But for people that are very involved, for example, if you get clients as therapists that are working with climate change or are feeling a lot of emotions around climate change or environmental issues, um, they usually feel very validated in the word collapse, in words like, yes, we are here. We're so we want them to be resilient in a way that, like, I know it's storm around me. I don't know where we're going. Uh, it's bad news every day that I have to read, but I'm standing here together with other people that see exactly the same thing as I
Mm.
see.
Mm.
So it's something about like giving the truth or validating the truth, validating what people experience that is really important to handle the
Mm.
emotions or letting them handle emotions.
So I was wondering also, because not all of the people in this group are therapists, but I think most of us work with people in one way or the other. So how can we support people that we meet? I mean, we need to support ourselves and we need to come together. And now we are here in this group to
Mhm.
try to find out something more. Um, you talk about validating the emotions, but there is also a confusion about emotions. So sometimes a person might say, I'm so depressed because my life is not good and so, but it can be that is actually just the surface. And
Mm.
there's a bigger despair
Yeah,
under
yeah.
there, under
Mm.
that. And that it cannot be treated with medicine. That has to be
Yeah.
treated in a different way. or
Yes.
met in a different way.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think we need to also look at healthcare in a different way? I mean,
Yeah, I think so. So
psychology, or also the physical, the reactions that people,
yeah.
everything that happens to us.
No, I definitely think so. I think like it's interesting to be a psychologist because we're one of the reasons why the society is so individualistic as well, because the traditional psychological research has been very individualistic. Like, how do I make this person become happier? How do I make this person get rid of the PSTD? How do I get one person to get rid of depression and so on. But now if we're going to do this shift from individualistic shift to more collective shift, of course we need to do that in healthcare as well.
Mm.
And we have studies that shows that in crisis, for example, if you've been through something real traumatic, like for example the tsunami, we have a research on Swedish people that came home, survivals from the tsunami, 2004, and they all got professional aid, like individualistic professional aid, but there were only those people that also had social support that got through their PTSD quicker and got into work and studies quicker as well. So it is the social support is um, we have to build structures for that because we will be in different crises and we have to find ways to build this social support rather than going and giving only one one person at a time a sort of treatment. Um, and people also need to learn to be more collective. I think this is quite difficult.
Mm.
It's a big job we need to do. And I like that you say that we have to start in the small or we can start in the small because I think that's the key, that it's local, it's small, that we feel that we can feel the difference. We get to know people, we get to see maybe for example, we have studies on community gardening. It has like the most amazing effects both in uh, people that have community gardens survive crises in a much better way. They communicate about issues that is happening in their society in a much better way and so on. But it's local. That's why they meet in the community gardening. But then they start to work with other things, like it starts to grow ideas and so on when they have this community garden. So yeah, so it's I can just like look at myself that it is really difficult to let go of this idea that you brought up with, that I don't know, you want to be special or um it's maybe it's just because like I'm a single child. Um,
Yeah.
but but yes, it's like the whole when the whole world tells you to be successful or be um um, earn money and so on. It's like it is
Realize your potential.
exactly, and like grow
Yeah.
within yourself and manifest your goals and so on. It's um and it's a lot about that, like just on the internet, on like TikTok and so on,
Mm.
like how this project to become a perfect person, like
Mm.
happy person, beautiful person, I don't know, even like empathy. You have to be an empathetic person, like then that also like becomes a individualistic thing. So to start to think about yourself as a part in something bigger instead of like succeeding to be a part of something. It's a difficult shift, but I'm very sure we'll solve many problems if we solve that problem.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those knots, you know, like if we can get open that knot, then many other knots will be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like we go back to something that might have been the natural way of for humans.
Yeah.
In do you think that, or is that romanticizing the past, maybe?
Well, I think no, I don't think it's romanticizing. Maybe for humans, it's romanticizing because we've never been like you could see like that we need a certain amount of money to be happy and a certain amount of privileges to be happy. So it's not like people that live with nothing are so collective. Like for example, I used to live in Kenya in Africa and work there before with building social change, and it was so many poor people, and they definitely lived in a more collective way, but they were also really worried all the time about how to get food to their kids and so on.
Mm.
But I think it's like it is true when it comes to nature. So if we don't only look at the human as the goal is that the human's going to survive, the goal is that the human is going to be happy and striving and successful as a collective, but we start to think about the collective together with the other species as well, then it's definitely going backwards, where we live closer to fewer people with more other species. And I can feel that. I can feel like, so our brains are only made to meet 100 people in one lifetime. And now we meet like 1,000 people in a day. Um, and they're just there. I can just open my phone or my computer and I can find a million people. Um, and that's just so overwhelming. That's not healthy, I think.
Mm.
Definitely, it's not healthy for the nature, for the other species. They have no interest in us like traveling all over the world or doing amazing careers and um,
It seems like, it's all it boils down to being grounded or back to, down to earth, very physical, local,
yeah,
close to each other. And there's another way of looking at what is happiness and what is abundance and it's like the norms can only be changed if we do this. And it seems like there's a yeah, I get really inspired by what you're saying about coming together, and I really believe that. I think we all know that in our hearts, actually,
I,
that that is the way.
and my experience is that people that have made the shifts in their lives have actually succeeded to let go of being like having the mission to become a perfect human being and instead start to think about how they can be in a community instead and build a community. Um, they feel so free. It's like freedom of all this chuckles of beauty, ideals, norms about money,
Mm.
norms about um, how to have like norms around happiness,
Yeah,
basically. And if you let go of that and just go for, just feel, just listen to your instincts instead. Your instincts usually say that, I don't know, you want to take care of your garden or take care of your community and be with your kids.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I look at the time and I see it's running fast, and I think there might be more to say. There's probably a lot more to say, but I think we open up for the breakouts now.
Mhm.
And then we take a pause, and then we come back and harvest a little bit together and see what questions come up or so. And I was thinking about the breakouts. How would it be if do you have any question for them in the breakouts, or do you want us to figure that out together?
Well, I don't know how, like, if you want, I'm sure you can discuss, just continue discussing like our discussion, but I find it really like good to get help from other people to like sort of land in uh, the different areas that help us. It's like interesting to like focus on yourself a little bit instead of like focusing on the people you meet. And if to just try out this model of how do we become more resilient and can handle our echo emotions and at the same time create a change. And we have this model of an ice cream. It's like it's three bowls in the ice cream. And to like become this resilient person or be part of this resilient collective, where you also create change and build something new and take care of yourself. You have to have these three bowls. So one is collective action, do something together with other people. So you can reflect around that bowl, like how can I get more of that in my life? The other one is emotional regulation. How can I share my emotions? How can I talk, validate? What sort of validation do I need from myself? What sort of validation do I can I get from other people around how I feel around climate change? And then the third one is recovery. So how do I allow myself to push away into dissonance sometimes to actually have a break maybe from the news or just be in nature to um,
Mm.
take take those stress, get the cortisol levels down a little bit. So we need like a perfect mix of these three. So not only recovery, not only collective action, not only validating your emotions and talking your emotions. It's the balance.
Mm.
And they need to lay in a bowl. To be balanced, they need to lay in the bowl of social support. So you could also discuss like, what's your bowl? Or can you create your bowl of social support? And if it feels too close to talk about yourself, you can talk about someone else.
Okay. So yeah, so I will start with, before I open the breakout rooms, I will just thank you, Kata, for this inspiring moment with you. It was really, really many good thoughts that came out from this. So thank you.
So thank you. It's really nice. I can't wait to hear your reflections.
Okay, thank you
Just
so
hear your
much.
voices, hear how they sound like.
Yes. Okay. Uh, uh, uh. Yes.